Welcome to Ab Memorabile, from time beyond memory. I'm Drake,
And I'm Holly, where ancient wisdom meets modern minds.
brought to you by the most ancient anamnetic order of Trikala, for seekers everywhere. Whether you're walking with us or simply curious about the path,
Each episode, we explore the hidden patterns that connect philosophy, consciousness, and human transformation.
drawing from traditions east and west, old and new, familiar and forgotten.
Because some truths exist outside of time, waiting to be remembered, not learned.
On this episode, we're traveling to the frozen banks of the Danube River, where nearly 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world sat in his military tent, writing notes to himself by candlelight. Notes that would become one of philosophy's most profound testaments to maintaining wisdom in the midst of chaos.
Drake, I've been haunted by this image all week. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth, spending year after year on the barbaric frontier, leading armies against Germanic tribes, and in his spare moments, he's writing philosophy.
Not philosophy for publication, either. The meditations were never meant to be read by anyone else. They're literally titled To Himself. Ta eis heauton in Greek.
That's what makes them so powerful. There's no performance, no rhetoric, just a man trying to stay sane and philosophical while everything around him is chaos, death, disease.
The Marcomannic Wars weren't some glorious campaign. They were brutal, grinding conflicts that lasted over a decade. Marcus was dealing with plague in the camps, betrayal from his generals, the death of children, his own and countless others.
And yet, listen to what he writes. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly.
That's not exactly positive thinking, is it?
But then he continues, they are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of the good and the ugliness of the bad, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to mine.
He's not being naively optimistic. He's being radically realistic. He sees people clearly, including their flaws, but still maintains compassion.
Because he understands that we're all part of the same whole. That's pure Stoicism. We're all limbs of the same body, citizens of the same cosmopolis.
What strikes me is the conditions under which he's writing. This isn't some comfortable philosopher in a warm study. He's probably freezing, exhausted, surrounded by the sounds and smells of war.
And dealing with personal tragedy. His adoptive brother and co-emperor Lucius Verus dies during these campaigns. Many of his children die young. His wife Faustina dies at the front.
Yet he writes, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. How do you maintain that perspective when you're burying your children?
I think that's exactly why he's writing. The meditations aren't philosophy being taught. They're philosophy being practiced, being lived, being desperately clung to in the darkest moments.
Like this passage, be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest.
He's not describing something he's achieved, he's reminding himself what to aim for. These are aspirations, exercises, cognitive reframes he's using to stay centered.
Which is exactly what modern cognitive behavioral therapy does. CBT is essentially Stoicism stripped of its metaphysics. The core insight is the same. It's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about events.
Aaron Beck, who founded CBT, explicitly acknowledged the influence of Stoicism. The idea that we can change our emotional experience by changing our thoughts, that's straight from Epictetus.
Speaking of Epictetus, isn't it remarkable that Stoicism's three great voices represent such different social positions? Epictetus the slave, Seneca the wealthy advisor, and Marcus the emperor.
And they all arrive at the same core insights, which suggests these truths aren't dependent on circumstances. A slave can be free inside, and an emperor can be enslaved by his position.
Marcus certainly felt the weight of his chains. He writes about wanting to retreat to the country, to live a simple philosophical life, but duty keeps him at the frontier, in the Senate, dealing with what he calls the puppets of today.
The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way.
That's one of his most powerful insights. The obstacle isn't something preventing you from the path, it is the path.
which completely reframes difficulty. Leading armies when you'd rather be studying philosophy isn't a detour from wisdom. It's where wisdom gets tested and refined.
It's easy to be philosophical in perfect conditions, but can you maintain your principles when you're deciding whether to execute prisoners? When you're sending young men to die? When everyone around you is corrupt?
This is what I love about Marcus. He doesn't pretend it's easy. He admits his struggles. How much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbour says or does.
He's constantly catching himself getting pulled into petty concerns and pulling himself back to what matters. The meditations are full of these course corrections.
There's something about reading the Gregory Hayes translation that really brings this home. It's so direct, so modern. You feel like Marcus is talking to you over coffee, not pronouncing from a marble pedestal.
You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think.
Memento mori. Remember death, but not in a morbid way, as a clarifying force. If you might die tonight, what really matters?
And for Marcus, this wasn't theoretical. He was surrounded by death daily. The Antonine Plague was killing thousands. Any battle could be his last. Several emperors before him had been assassinated.
Yet he doesn't become cynical or callous. He maintains this almost heartbreaking tenderness. What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee.
He's constantly reminding himself of our interconnection, our mutual dependence. Even while commanding legions trained to kill, he's thinking about universal brotherhood.
That's the paradox of his position. He has to wage war while believing in peace. He has to judge and punish while believing in understanding and forgiveness.
And he has to do it without losing his humanity. There's a story that after defeating the Sarmatians, when they expected brutal reprisals, he showed mercy. He understood that today's enemy could be tomorrow's ally. You know what passage really gets me? At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do.
Even the Emperor of Rome had trouble getting out of bed.
But notice how he reframes it. Not, I have to do this burden of ruling, but I get to fulfill my purpose. He transforms obligation into opportunity.
That's such a Stoic move. Amor fati, love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it.
Nietzsche, who coined that term, was deeply influenced by the Stoics. He saw in them the same thing we're discussing. Philosophy not as theory, but as practice, as a way of life.
And that's what the modern Stoicism revival is rediscovering. People like Ryan Holiday, Massimo Pigliucci, they're showing that these practices work. They're not just ancient history.
Because the fundamental challenges haven't changed. We still struggle with anger, fear, desire, loss. We still need tools to maintain equanimity in chaos.
Though I wonder if Marcus would recognize what popular Stoicism has become. Sometimes it feels like it's been reduced to productivity hacks and success strategies.
How to be a Stoic CEO, rather than how to be a good human being.
Exactly. Marcus wasn't trying to optimize his performance. He was trying to stay human while wielding inhuman power.
There's a passage where he writes about the corrupting nature of power. Remember that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking.
This from a man who could have anything he wanted, any pleasure, any luxury, any revenge on his enemies.
But he knew that path led to becoming like the emperors before him, Caligula, Nero, Domitian, mad with power, destroyed by their own excess.
So he uses philosophy as a defense against corruption. Each meditation is like a small dose of antidote against the poison of absolute power.
The best revenge is not to be like your enemy.
Can you imagine writing that while planning military campaigns? Your job is literally to defeat enemies, yet you're reminding yourself not to become like them.
It makes me think about modern leaders. How many of them have any philosophical framework at all? How many spend time reflecting on virtue, duty, the common good?
Marcus shows that philosophy isn't a luxury for those with leisure. It's most necessary for those with power, with responsibility, with the ability to affect many lives.
What we do now echoes in eternity.
And his echoes have been profound. The meditations have influenced everyone from Frederick the Great to Bill Clinton. General James Mattis carried a copy in Afghanistan.
There's something else about the frontier context that fascinates me. Marcus is literally at the edge of civilization, holding the line against chaos.
The physical frontier mirrors the psychological frontier he's defending in himself.
Exactly. He's fighting barbarians outside while fighting barbarism within. The barbarism of anger, cruelty, despair.
The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts.
So he's constantly dyeing his soul with philosophical thoughts, trying to maintain that imperial purple of wisdom despite being surrounded by the mud and blood of war.
And he's doing it alone. That's what strikes me most. No teacher, no philosophical community, just a man and his thoughts in a tent.
Well, he had his books. He quotes extensively from Epictetus, from Heraclitus. Books were his portable philosophical companions.
Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is perspective, not truth.
That level of epistemological sophistication, maintained during a military campaign, he's questioning the nature of knowledge while managing supply lines and troop movements.
You know what I find most moving? He never breaks. Through all those years of war, plague, betrayal, loss, he maintains his philosophical stance.
Or maybe he does break, but he keeps rebuilding. The Meditations could be read as a record of countless small breakings and reconstructions.
The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way.
He said that already, but it bears repeating. Every obstacle, the wars, the politics, the personal tragedies, becomes material for philosophical practice.
Like the order teaches about wounds becoming gifts. Marcus transforms every difficulty into an opportunity for wisdom.
And he does it without hope of reward. He doesn't believe in personal immortality. He's not doing good to earn heaven. He's doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Live as if you were living for the second time and had acted as wrongly the first time as you are about to act now.
That's profound. Use regret as a teacher, but a preventive teacher. Imagine looking back on this moment. What would you regret? Then don't do that.
It's like he's constantly time traveling, using future perspective to guide present action.
There's a beautiful passage where he talks about the view from above. Imagine rising up and seeing human affairs from cosmic perspective, how small our concerns become.
Watch the stars in their courses as though you were accompanying them, and continually dwell on the changes of elements into one another.
He's using cosmic perspective as therapy, as a way to maintain proportion. Your enemy insulted you? Look at the stars. Your plans failed? Consider geological time.
Yet he doesn't use this to become detached or uncaring. He still shows up fully for his duties. The cosmic perspective doesn't make him nihilistic. It makes him more compassionate.
Because from that height, you see how we're all struggling with the same things. Emperor or slave, Roman or barbarian, we're all just humans trying to make sense of existence.
We were born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural.
And he's writing this while literally fighting a war. The cognitive dissonance must have been overwhelming.
Unless war itself becomes a form of working together, even with enemies, you're playing out a cosmic drama that somehow serves the whole.
That's a challenging thought. Marcus seems to suggest something similar when he writes about everything having its place in the cosmic order, even things we call evil.
What would Marcus make of our time, do you think?
The technology would astound him, but the human challenges would be entirely familiar. We still struggle with distraction, though now it's smartphones, not gossip in the forum.
We still deal with difficult people, just now they're in our email inbox or social media feeds.
We still face our mortality, though we're better at postponing it.
And we still need philosophy. Maybe more than ever, given the pace and complexity of modern life.
Marcus wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Imagine how much more difficult that is now with 24-hour news cycles and constant connectivity.
Yet his practices still work. When you feel overwhelmed, you can still use the view from above. When someone angers you, you can still remember that they're acting according to their own judgment of good.
How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?
That's so relevant to online discourse. The original slight might be tiny, but the anger it generates can consume days, relationships, mental health.
Marcus would probably be amazed that his private notes have become public wisdom, studied 2 millennia later.
But I think he'd be pleased that they still help people, that across all this time and cultural change, the fundamental practices still work.
You know what strikes me most? Marcus never presents himself as having achieved perfect stoicism. He's always in process, always practicing.
Be like the boxer, not the swordsman. The swordsman picks up his sword and puts it down. The boxer's hand is always ready.
Philosophy as constant readiness, not achievement. You don't become stoic once and for all. You practice stoicism moment by moment.
Which is why he needed to write the meditations. They're not a record of wisdom achieved, but wisdom being practiced, day after day, in the most difficult circumstances imaginable.
And maybe that's the deepest teaching. Not that we should be like Marcus in his perfection, but like Marcus in his practice, showing up to the work of wisdom regardless of conditions.
Using whatever life gives us, war, plague, power, loss, as material for philosophical transformation.
The frontier isn't just where he happened to be stationed. The frontier is where philosophy meets life, where principles meet practice.
And we're all on that frontier every day. Different battles, same war, the eternal struggle to stay human, stay wise, stay connected to what matters.
Marcus shows us it's possible, not easy, but possible. Even under ultimate pressure, wisdom can not just survive, but deepen.
What stands in the way becomes the way.
The obstacles aren't preventing our philosophy. They are our philosophy, waiting to be lived. Thank you for joining us for this exploration.
Ab immemorabili, from time beyond memory.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing.
And remember, the wisdom you seek has always been within you.
You're not learning it.
You're remembering it.